A white Rolls-Royce glides down the desert roads of Dubai. Behind the wheel, Ross Miami McGill. A fugitive, but hardly hiding. He poses for pictures beside the Rolls, with a white Mercedes G-Wagon parked in line, sunglasses on. The flash mobster look complete. To anyone scrolling past on social media, it's the image of success. But that shine doesn't travel. While McGill cruises the boulevards of Dubai Hills, Scotland burns. Homes and businesses are firebombed. Driveways go up in flames. In the underworld's eyes, McGill has become the face of Britain's bloodiest feud. He wasn't supposed to be here. At 17, he was tipped for glory, a teenage sprinter called up to run for Scotland. He made his debut in a national vest. It should have been the start of a career built on tracks, medals, maybe stadium lights. Instead, it was one lap, and done. His race would take a darker route. By 2025, McGill's name wasn't in athletics results, but in gangland reports. He's described as one of Britain's most notorious new crime lords, the man said to be pulling strings in a feud that leaves Scotland scarred. Reports claim he lives freely in Dubai, while his network keeps the violence alive at home. The scale is staggering. Sources tell The Sun that alongside Stephen Larwood, another Scot with cartel ties, McGill is now overseeing shipment routes once run by Jamie Iceman Stevenson and the missing Gillespie brothers. Larwood is said to be raking in up to £3 million a month. McGill's proximity to that fortune has rocketed his profile to the top tier. The contrast is brutal. A white Rolls-Royce in Dubai. Black smoke from firebombed houses in Glasgow. That's the world of Ross Miami McGill, a name that rose from the running tracks of East Kilbride to the top floors of Dubai Hills, while the streets he left behind turned into battlegrounds. Before the name Miami carried weight in the underworld, Ross McGill's reputation was built on speed. At 17, he was a teenage sprinting sensation. Reports at the time described him as a promising young runner tipped for bigger things. On paper, it should have been the start of a career that might have carried him into stadiums, medals, and a clean public life. But the run was brief. McGill made just one appearance in a Scotland vest. That one lap would be his only taste of national competition. Not long after, the track shoes went away, and the focus shifted. The race he chose wasn't measured in hundredths of a second, but in survival, money, and power. Looking back, people who knew him say McGill always seemed to be aiming higher than sport. The discipline of training gave him focus, but it also put him in touch with crowds and networks beyond the track. Those early years planted seeds, the idea that he could be more than just another runner from East Kilbride. This pivot, from sprinting lanes to street lanes, is the first step in his transformation. By the time his peers were still chasing athletic scholarships or coaching badges, McGill was already orbiting another world. The medals and finish lines never came. What came instead was notoriety. The contrast would only sharpen in later years. A teenager once lauded for speed would become a man described as the face of Scotland's bloodiest gang war. The clean-cut image of an athlete was gone, and the race he now ran was one where the finish line was measured in firebombs, arrests, and whispered names. If athletics had been McGill's first stage, Ibrox was his second. By 2008, at just 14, he joined the Union Bears, a Rangers ultras group that was then just emerging. What started as chants, flags, and smoke bombs on match days would give McGill something else, a taste of loyalty, leadership, and the theatre of control. Over the next decade, he rose through the ranks. By 2021, McGill was the Union Bears capo, the front man with the megaphone, the figure who directed thousands of voices. It gave him an access all areas pass at Ibrox. From the terraces to behind the scenes, he was in the photos, posing with Rangers manager Steven Gerrard and Captain James Tavernier. To most supporters, he was simply the face of the Ultras, the lad who revelled in the limelight. But according to later reporting, this role may also have given him connections beyond football. Sources told The Sun that being a capo opened doors, not just with fellow fans, but with figures from the criminal world who moved in those same circles. When McGill walked away from the Union Bears, many Rangers fans were surprised. Some were disappointed. To them, it was a shock exit by someone who had been at the centre of the group for years. What they didn't know, reports suggest, is that McGill's ambitions had already shifted. The Ultras stage was a springboard, the first platform for the image he would carry into another arena entirely. The Union Bears years showed him how to command loyalty, how to build a following, and how to thrive in the spotlight. Skills learned in football's terraces would soon translate to gangland's battlefields. From leading chants in a stadium to leading whispers in the underworld, McGill's transformation was already underway. Leaving the terraces didn't mean leaving the spotlight. McGill's next move was business. On paper, it looked legitimate, a string of ventures, including a dry cleaning firm in East Kilbride called E.K. Lean. But the partnerships he kept raised eyebrows. One name stood out: John Barry Macduff, a former Mr. Scotland bodybuilder with a taste for more than protein shakes. Macduff wasn't just muscle. By 2024, he would admit to serious organised crime, pleading guilty to charges that included dealing in cocaine, heroin, and steroids. He was jailed for 7 years. Investigators revealed he had been using Encro, the encrypted phone network once thought unbreakable, to coordinate his supply lines. At the time, McGill was linked to him through E.K. Lean and other ventures. While the business itself looked like a laundrette, prosecutors later suggested the setup around Macduff blurred the lines between clean trade and criminal enterprise. McGill's name began appearing in the Encro chats too, not yet charges, but allegations. Reports say it was this police breakthrough, the moment EncroChat was cracked, that first connected McGill's name to Scotland's organised crime scene. The timing was crucial. As investigators moved in on the big players, many were jailed or pulled off the board. For others, it was the chance to move up. McGill didn't stay in East Kilbride long. Facing those early allegations, he left Scotland behind. First Spain, then Dubai. What looked like a small-town dry cleaner became the launchpad for a fugitive life. Macduff's downfall in 2024 was proof of what the authorities could do with a cracked phone. For McGill, it was also opportunity. The moment the ranks above him thinned, leaving space for someone ambitious, connected, and ruthless enough to climb. By the time McGill left East Kilbride, the climb had already begun. Reports suggest he wasn't moving alone. He was being ushered upwards by one of Scotland's most notorious figures, James the Don White. White was the head of a supergang with reach stretching far beyond Glasgow. He had built ties with cartels in South America and Europe, moving cocaine on an industrial scale. But in 2023, the empire cracked. White was arrested abroad, extradited, and jailed. It's believed that before his fall, White introduced McGill to contacts at the highest levels of the drug trade. Those introductions placed the former sprinter into a new league, a step away from the lower-level associates he had been around back home. White's lieutenants included Paul Fleming, who later faced his own sentence for trafficking. McGill's name began to surface in the same orbit. By 2022, McGill and his girlfriend, dental nurse Olivia Newell, had left the UK. First Spain, where British gangs often find shelter, then further afield, into the gated luxury of Dubai Hills. Olivia wasn't just a partner, her family carried their own ties to Scotland's underworld. Reports note that she is the cousin of Lloyd Cross, a kingpin jailed in 2024 for his role in a £100 million cocaine smuggling conspiracy. The Dubai move was no retreat. From a detached villa in the Emirates, McGill had space, safety, and prestige. With White behind bars and other senior figures falling around him, there was a gap at the top of Scotland's underworld network. McGill stepped into it. It was the perfect storm. Introductions from White, proximity to Cross, and distance from the police. From 2022 onwards, Ross Miami McGill wasn't just a name from East Kilbride. He was a name spoken in Dubai, where exiles become bosses and fortunes are measured not in pounds, but in tons. Every empire has its architects. For McGill's generation, the blueprint came from Jamie the Iceman Stevenson. Stevenson had been described in court as one of Scotland's most resourceful traffickers, a man who shifted cocaine in banana shipments from Ecuador while running what prosecutors compared to a Breaking Bad-style Valium factory back home. By 2023, he was finished. Jailed for 16 years, the empire he built was suddenly leaderless. That vacuum created opportunity. Reports suggest Stevenson's infrastructure, the supply routes, the contacts, the systems, didn't vanish with him. Instead, others stepped in. Investigators noted that McGill had been pictured alongside Stevenson himself, as well as Stephen Jimmy Jameson, another Scottish figure with underworld weight. Those images told their own story. McGill wasn't an outsider looking in. He was in the room, building currency through association. Then there were the Gillespie brothers, James and Barry. Long before they disappeared from view, they ran routes into the UK that became the backbone of Scotland's cocaine trade. Sources claim McGill, along with Stephen Larwood, is now connected to the same lines, inheriting what Stevenson and the Gillespies left behind. The Iceman's downfall was a landmark in Scottish gangland history. But where others saw collapse, McGill saw ascent. With the old guard jailed or vanished, the field was wide open. His rise was rocket-fueled by the very structures Stevenson and his allies had spent years perfecting. In Dubai Hills Estate, the villas all look the same. Clean lines, palm trees, and gates that keep the noise out. Behind those gates, two Scots set up shop within minutes of each other. Ross, Miami McGill, and Stephen Larwood. Larwood's name had already been written into police files years earlier. A vending machine boss from Kirkintilloch, he was jailed in 2007 after being caught in a packaging plant with £250,000 worth of cocaine. He served 4 years, then stepped back into a lavish lifestyle. Reports showed him arriving at his wedding on a helicopter in Santorini in 2016, a scene that looked more like a movie than a marriage. By 2025, his fortune had grown exponentially. Sources told The Sun that Larwood was making between £2 million and £3 million a month, moving cocaine shipments into Europe and the UK. Those same reports claim McGill was close by, sharing both the postcode and the profits. The two men were said to be overseeing shipment routes once controlled by Jamie Iceman Stevenson and the Gillespie brothers, routes stretching from Colombia and Ecuador through Spain into Britain. The balance was clear. Larwood was described as the organizer, making sure shipments left Spain and arrived intact. McGill, meanwhile, was said to clip bits from the same routes, drawing from Stevenson's legacy while building his own. Both men were now based in the Emirates, living in luxury, while the streets of Scotland bore the cost. The image didn't hide the reality. McGill was still being named in reports as the face of firebombings, machete assaults, and murder bids back home. Yet in Dubai, he posed beside his white Rolls-Royce, the desert roads as much a catwalk as a getaway. It was the purest form of the modern gangster myth, a villa in the Gulf, a fortune in the shadows, and a war raging thousands of miles away. Every gang war has a spark. For this one, sources point to a debt gone wrong. In early 2025, Ross McGill was said to have been swindled out of £500,000. Reports claim the money had been handed over to associates of Edinburgh crime boss Mark Richardson. But what came back wasn't cash at all, it was counterfeit. A con that might have fooled others. But in gangland, shorting a man with ambition was never going to go unpunished. The story that spread was brutal. McGill, sources allege, put a price on the heads of those he believed were responsible. The figure was whispered as £100,000 a head. Not a rumour designed for headlines, but the kind of number that makes even close allies start looking sideways. Then came the violence. From April onwards, Scotland was hit by wave after wave of attacks. Homes and businesses linked to rivals were torched in firebombings. Driveways burned, glass shattered. Machetes came out in the streets. Reports from Police Scotland described dozens of incidents. By the summer, the toll was clear. More than 50 arrests had been made in connection with the feud. Detectives were dealing not with isolated hits, but with an ongoing war. And while McGill remained hundreds of miles away in Dubai, his name was tied to the chaos back home. Underworld sources told The Sun that McGill had become the face of the ongoing chaos in Scotland. Not because he was the only man involved, but because the scale of the feud seemed to orbit around him. For communities caught in the crossfire, that face was visible only in flames, the mark of a war fueled by counterfeit money, vengeance, and ambition with no ceiling. In June 2025, the feud seemed to reach a new level when an attack landed not on a rival, but on the doorstep of Ross McGill's girlfriend's family. Reports from Scotland said that a black taxi belonging to George Newall, Olivia's father, was targeted outside the family home. Petrol was poured, flames tore through the vehicle, and by the time the fire was out, the taxi was a wreck, its roof and frame burned beyond repair. For investigators, it was a clear escalation. Firebombings had hit houses, cars, and businesses across the Central Belt, but this one was different. It brought the fight to the family of the woman closest to McGill. Every report carried the same clarification. There is no suggestion that Olivia Newall or her parents were involved in crime, or that they were under suspicion by police. They were civilians caught in the smoke of a gangland war being fought miles away, a war that had already left dozens arrested. Still, the symbolism was obvious. When associates can't reach the man himself, they aim for what he values. McGill was living in Dubai, beyond the reach of local enemies. His girlfriend's family was not. The taxi firebombing became another chapter in a feud that had already seen petrol bombs, machetes, and shootings ripple through Scotland. For the Newalls, it was a night of fire and fear. For the wider underworld, it was a message. In this war, nothing was off limits. Dubai has become a haven for Britain's most wanted, but even there, rivalries don't vanish. Reports from underworld sources say Ross McGill came face-to-face with Stephen "Jimmy" Jameson in a Dubai gym. Jameson, long associated with Scottish organised crime, confronted McGill over the feud tearing through Glasgow and beyond. The calm of the gym didn't last. Witnesses later told journalists that Jameson went for McGill, chasing him between machines, the row spilling across the floor until others stepped in to break it up. It was a rare glimpse of gangland tensions breaking into the open. For a man living in luxury villas and cruising Dubai in a white Rolls-Royce, the gym bust-up stripped away the image of untouchability. Here was proof that enemies could reach him, even in the desert. Weeks later, Jameson's freedom ended. In June 2025, he was arrested in Dubai after 5 years on the run. He now faces extradition proceedings to Scotland on allegations linked to serious organised crime. The arrest made headlines not just for what it meant for Jameson, but for the wider message: no exile lasts forever. For McGill, the bust-up and the arrest showed the fragility of his position. He might be pictured beside G-wagons and marble villas, but Dubai is no fortress. The same forces that caught up with Jameson are closing in on others. The gym fight was a small clash in a wider war, but it carried a bigger meaning. Distance doesn't erase danger, it only delays it. Dubai is often sold as neutral ground, a place where rival clans can put distance between themselves and the chaos of home. Earlier in 2025, reports circulated of truce talks. Associates of the Glasgow-based Daniel clan were said to have tried reaching out to Ross McGill, pushing for an end to the firebombings and violence that had scarred Scotland since spring. Associates of the Glasgow-based Daniel clan were said to have tried reaching out to Ross McGill, pushing for an end to the firebombings and violence that had scarred Scotland since spring. The talks didn't go far. If anything, they showed just how entrenched the rivalries had become. Then came another episode. According to underworld sources, McGill was at a Dubai nightclub when he spotted heavies linked to Stephen Bonzo Daniel. The story told is that he fled the venue quickly, avoiding a direct confrontation. For critics in the underworld, it was another reason to label him volatile, a man who could draw attention but not always control it. The nightclub moment added to the picture of McGill already emerging. Flashy, present, but unpredictable. Reports describe him as being increasingly viewed as more trouble than he's worth. Allies saw the wealth and the reach. Rivals saw a man fueling mayhem back home while living thousands of miles away in comfort. Dubai Hills estate may look calm from the outside. Rolls-Royces at the gates, villas lined up in order. But inside, tensions were running high. For McGill, each sighting, each whisper, was proof that even luxury couldn't insulate him from the world he'd left behind. The same names he had once risen alongside were still out there, and some of them were closer than ever. In gangland, even paradise eventually comes with shadows. By the close of summer 2025, one label kept repeating in the headlines: Ross Miami McGill, Scotland's most wanted gangster. It was a phrase built as much on perception as on charge sheets. McGill had not been convicted of orchestrating the feud, but his name had become shorthand for it. Reports described him as Britain's most notorious new crime lord, the figure at the centre of firebombings, machete assaults, and murder bids that left neighbourhoods scorched. Part of the notoriety came from contrast. While Scotland's streets burned, McGill was photographed, living in the luxury Dubai Hills estate. The images reinforced the idea of a man untouchable, free in the Gulf, while dozens were arrested back home. Police saw it differently. To them, Dubai was not sanctuary, but staging ground. Each firebombing in Glasgow or Edinburgh, each machete attack linked to the feud, added to the pressure to bring McGill into the frame. Underworld voices added their own layer. For some, McGill's high-profile presence and the chaos tied to his name were liabilities. Still, perception rules gangland as much as power. And by 2025, Ross Miami McGill was more than a name. He was a symbol of a feud that refused to burn out, and of a new generation of exiled bosses playing kingpin from afar. Ross Miami McGill's story is written in sharp contrasts. In Dubai, he moves freely, driving luxury cars and living in a detached villa in manicured streets. In Scotland, homes smoulder, cars are gutted, and people pick through the ashes of firebomb attacks. Reports link a wave of attacks to a group calling itself Tamo Junto, said to be loyal to McGill. More than 50 arrests have been made as police struggle to contain the violence tied to the feud, Each incident reinforces the image of McGill not just as a participant, but as a figurehead. Attempts at peace haven't worked. Truce talks in Dubai fizzled out, nightclub sightings ended in flight, and rivals are still circling. McGill remains for now a free man. No extradition, no conviction tying him directly to the feud's bloodiest chapters. A teenage sprinter who ran one lap for Scotland, now painted as the fugitive face of a war that shows no sign of burning out. The cars may gleam white in Dubai. In Scotland, the smoke is black. You can trade the cold streets of Scotland for glass towers in the Gulf, and you can swap the sound of sirens for the hum of supercars. But the game never really ends, it just waits. The money keeps flowing, the phones keep ringing, and somewhere, another door burns. In the end, it's never the police that close in. It's the people you paid, the ones you trusted, and when they eventually come, they don't knock. For more raw and real crime stories, hit the like button and subscribe. Until the next episode, stay alert and stay safe.